Hey, everybody. I'm Rob Robillard from Toolbox Buzz. I'm here with Sean Kelly at the Milwaukee Pipeline event. Sean, thanks for having us out, and it's good to see you again.
Likewise. It's a pleasure.
What exactly do you do? You're Director of Product Management of what at Milwaukee?
Director of Product Management, primarily focused on our nailing and fasteners category. I support the carpentry categories of power tools as well. So everything from all of our nailers, any of the fasteners we've made, compressor, circular saws, sanders, you name it. That's the team that I'm on, and I've been there for about 9 years.
Yeah, you've been there a long time. That's my wheelhouse too. So you said a lot of things that kind of resonated to me. Compressors. Let's talk about compressors because I'm still plugging in.
Okay.
So I have the little compressor. I forget that came out about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, about 4.
M18.
Mm-hmm.
What are you finding? Are you finding that people are going to use that compressor for punch list, or are they going to keep changing batteries all day and try to go with that?
It's kind of a mixed bag. It's really interesting. What we're finding is kind of an inverse relationship, if you will. With that compressor, you have a lot of punch list work, is what we see a lot of. You don't necessarily see that as the main compressor for trim work a whole heck of a lot.
Right.
Earlier when we launched it, and probably right around the launch time frame, when you look at where cordless nailers and themselves were, they've continued to move forward in performance and size and weight and durability. So it was a little bit more of a, hey, if I'm not quite ready to go cordless on the nailing side or completely cordless on the nailing side, this is an option that allows me to be cordless but still use my pneumatics. So you're seeing a lot of punchless work still, but you're seeing a little bit less of that, if you will, as cordless nailers get smaller and lighter. And that's certainly our goal, is to drive it closer and closer to what you see out of pneumatics. Yeah,
I mean, you're a battery solution company, right? Driven, but I think you're right. You said something that made a lot of sense. I am plugging in to a pneumatic hose on massive jobs, big jobs that we're there for 8 months, that we have, 4 months worth of trim to do.
Right, your compressor's not moving a whole heck of a lot.
It's not, and we probably have 2 of them. There's one on each floor, and we got multiple hoses, and we are just going to town with that. And that is strictly because we own the space.
Right.
Now,
so in those environments, you're not, rolling up your hoses every single day, right? You're leaving there.
Yeah, we roll down the machine, unplug it, and we go home. It's there in the morning. But we also we're mobile contractors. So, we might show up and put in a window or a door or a small deck or something.
Right.
And in that case, we're completely cordless with the exception of maybe a charger. So we do both. We mostly are cordless though. I would venture to say that I have 10 years ago, I had 15 extension cords in my van. I have 2. I have a 25 and a 50. Everything in my van is cordless. When we need to plug in, we pull that stuff out of our storage area and we bring it, we set it up. And like I said, it just stays.
Right.
So that's pretty good. We've come a long way. And that kind of segues into where we are with cordless nailers. So, and that's exciting for me because I'm frame to finish. So I basically touch all of your nailers.
Right.
Probably my favorite is the pin nailer.
23 gauge.
Such a sweet little tool. So nice. But you've come a long way with the finish nailers, right? The Gen 2, great improvement. But this bad boy right here is pretty interesting. I have yet to fire it. There's a demo outside that I'm kind of excited to try. But tell me, how'd this start? Like user feedback, where did you start with this? How long has it been taking you guys, and where are we at today with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our new M18 fuel 15-degree coil roofing nailer. This is something that we've been working on for actually quite a long time, and I'll kind of step through some of the details there. But we've been asked about it a ton. You've asked about it, year after year. Pipeline, many of our Milwaukee customers have asked for it, and it's something that was technically very challenging for the team. And as we've learned more, because for cordless nailing, Milwaukee's still relatively new. We got into the space in 2016. We've learned a whole heck of a lot. And this is a really good example of kind of our best foot forward right now with a technology standpoint for nailing to drive high performance, great durability and reliability. But paramount is to try to keep weight and size down. When you look at things like roofing nailers, framing nailers, your higher energy, maybe higher duty cycle tools, one of the biggest challenges, and we get this feedback a lot, and we've talked about it in the past, is The weight is still a challenge for us. So this is a really great example of our team being able to drive size and weight down as much as possible without asking anyone to sacrifice on the performance side of
What
things.
is the weight?
It's 7.3 pounds bare tool,
Yep.
8.6 pounds with the CP high output 3.0 battery that's kitted with it. For reference, that 7.3 pounds bare tool is around the weight of our angled finish nailers that launched
Right.
about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So good example of something that we're really putting everything we've got, and there's more in the hopper. We're excited about this one.
It's pretty light. I mean, my boss stitch pneumatic nailer is way lighter.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with all the, I guess it's a nitrogen tank.
Yep. It's our
And
nitrogen
battery.
gas spring. Yep.
Small battery. So that little 3.0 amp hour battery, I know it's your high output, which is a great battery.
Mhm.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. And it really comes down, this is an interesting dialogue on this particular tool, because this is one that we know, and we're not suggesting to anyone to say, if you're doing full tear off re-roof, full production roofing, hey, get rid of your compressor. This is a supplement in those really high duty cycle, but you can be completely cordless for everything from repair jobs up to maybe 3, 4, 5 squares of roofing.
Mhm.
So by way of that, we thought the best battery to kit it with was the 3.0. Get about 1,100 nails per charge. That's roughly 2 to 3 squares of roofing.
Mhm.
It's a really nice mix from an ergonomics perspective. And of course, it's M18. So if you need more runtime, put a larger battery on it. But thought it was the best mix based on the feedback we've been getting about where it's most beneficial and how people want to use this particular tool.
You can also just swap the battery. I mean,
can
that's
swap
the
it
whole
out.
point of a cordless tool, right? So keep the weight down and stick with the 3.0.
Yeah.
It looks like it just takes standard size coils. It's got a depth of drive adjustment.
Mhm.
You've got sequential bump.
A couple other really exciting features here. So you hit on a couple of them. One that we're really excited about is just the single action door.
Oh, look at that.
So Bostitch has it. Some of the other primary leaders in the pneumatic space have that double door.
Yep.
Feedback has been really, really consistent that this is the preference, which has been great. Really unique belt hook here.
I was going to ask you about this little guy here. It's like a little line or something. What is that?
Yeah.
Roll out?
So it does come out. And it's a really great example, and I'm putting the cart before the horse in terms of some of the details on that one. But knowing that when it's not sitting on a table, when it's not, or excuse me, sitting on a roof, it's going to be either on your person or it's going to be hanging on 2x or scaffolding. So this is designed specifically for this tool, so it can be on your person, and then this is your 2x and scaffolding.
Yeah.
Now scaffolding comes into play.
Got some, what would you call that? Like
a
ribbed or
ribbing, knurling,
knurling?
to grab the material a little bit better.
Totally.
And then the reason scaffolding is something that really became a focus for this particular hook is if you look on the back side of this tool, we have an integrated vinyl siding tip. That'll be coming with every roofing nailer.
Oh, interesting.
So it's tool free. It pops off the magazine. It's stored there, and then it fits onto the nose of the tool. This is something that we've been working on for quite a long time, this tool. And through that, we've had countless hours and days on site with roofing contractors, with exterior contractors, siding contractors, folks doing remodeling work. It became really evident to us that this tool is a benefit on the roofing side, but there's more value and versatility that we can drive into, particularly those doing
Siding.
vinyl work and roofing.
What about like a hardy board or a concrete type of siding?
Not with this tool. That's a different nail. That's your dedicated siding nailers. If it connects to a hose, it's something that we're excited about.
You're looking
at
at
the
it.
future.
Yeah.
But for vinyl and then like say window flanges, things that you're using hand-driven roofing nails with
Window
today,
flanges.
oftentimes, this is a great solution and drives more value.
So I'll tell you a funny story off topic and a competitor brand, but years ago they had, was it Duo Fast? Came out with a cordless roofing nailer.
Yeah.
Fuel. You had to use the cartridges. You had the battery. It was frustrating, right? And the fuel would always get stale or the battery would be dead because it was a little teeny battery. I did a video installing Windows with it and I nailed off the flange, and you should have seen the comments, the keyboard warriors came out, but it was amazing. So this could be used to do nailing flanges. You can dial back on the power.
Yep, you
Go
can
for it.
dial it back, and then there's enough adjustment there so you can deal with your different lengths of nails.
And there's
too.
no fuel to go stale.
There's
It's
not.
cordless. Yeah. I love
Completely
it.
battery. So really exciting.
Well done.
And you asked earlier, how long we've been working on this. We're really, we're proud about how quickly we can be to market with a lot of things, but we also want to make sure we get it right.
Totally.
This is a product that has been in development for longer than you might think. We started it in development for about a year and a half, recognized that wasn't the direction that we needed to go. It really wasn't going to hit on the key user needs. So we binned it and started all over. So it's been something in the background the last probably 4 or 5 years that we've been working on to try to get it right.
Well, one of the things you guys are pretty well known for is you'll take the prototypes and you'll feed the seed or whatever you want to call them out in the field, right? You've
Yeah.
got your users. So I imagine you place these with a bunch of roofers
We do.
and maybe some siding contractors or whatever. What was the initial feedback? It had to be some resistance at first, maybe because of the weight. But what were some of the comments you were getting right away? I mean,
Yes.
interesting, right?
Yeah. And it's what my team spends, honestly, the overwhelming majority of their time is on the job site. We're not, doing surveys, certainly some secondary research, but the overwhelming majority of their time, they're around the country working with different users, different regions. We got to understand regionality, different
Right.
building materials, different code. The initial feedback, candidly on this one, it was a rough first prototype, was like the idea. We were really working through the technical challenges of nail feeding. So in the pockets where it was working well and it was firing quickly, feedback was really encouraging, but we had a lot of work to do on reliability of nail feeding and not jamming. So we learned a lot through those first handful of prototypes. And then since then, we've really been able to refine it.
Yeah.
What we're looking for through validation and field testing is not just here's where we need the design to change. Here's the things that are frustrating. Here's the issues that we're finding that maybe you're not capturing in testing. Or on the flip side, we capture something in testing. We have the ability to have a feedback loop to say, hey, Rob, you might not have mentioned this to us last time we were out. Have you had this issue? Yeah, it has popped up a few times.
Now they
So
mention it does happen.
there's been a bunch.
Also, this is a bump feed gun. I mean, these roofers are banging that gun on the deck, boom, 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 and it's a lot of wear and tear on any tool.
Yeah.
So the nose has to be sturdy. It has to be able to fire that fast every time they're bumping it.
Yeah.
So
This one was really key for us to really understand how much speed do the users need, the roofers need
yeah,
for
that
it
ramp. Yeah.
for it to still be valuable for them, even if it's not quite at where a pneumatic at full send is.
Yep. Interesting.
So it's exciting. And we're talking about the roofing nailer, but that's really what we do on any program, whether it's a power tool, an accessory, hand tool, storage. It is kind of the process for development, and it's fun. That's what my team, like I said, spends 90% of their time doing.
Yeah. You mentioned regional earlier in your comment, and it's funny, we talk regional. It just, the second you said it, I thought of circular saws.
Yeah.
Right. So we talk regional. What comes to mind when I say that to you?
Oh, when you say regional,
West Coast, East Coast.
West Coast, East Coast,
Sidewinder.
rear handle,
Real handle.
where you see larger format saws used based on materials that are more commonplace, maybe 10 1/4 saws and some of the bigger saws. In the nailing world, it's 30-degree framing nailers, 21-degree building codes that are dictated by that. So it's really critical in the carpentry space from a product development standpoint to travel. We can't do all of our work in Southeast Wisconsin.
You have to hit the regions. So on that note, we have some saws coming out.
We do.
You have some saws coming out. Not we. I saw a rear handle. You have a couple of new sidewinders.
Yep. So we have.
I'm a sidewinder guy. East Coast.
East Coast.
By the way, interesting factoid. I read this a while ago, and I hope I have my facts right. Somebody will correct us if I don't, but it's preference, right? It's East Coast, West Coast, but I believe it all started from distribution. So there was a factory, I don't know, Midwest to West Coast, that was making the skill, the 77 that's been around for whatever.
Mag 77.
Mag.
Yep.
And then there was another factory, I think it was in Connecticut, and they were making the Sidewinder. It might have been Craftsman or somebody.
Well, that's probably.
And that's kind of how they fed through the distribution, because they were doing trucking and train. And that's how it started. And then people just got entrenched with what they were used to using.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that a lot from a regionality perspective.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely it. And the really interesting thing about cordless that we've seen since we launched our first rear handle is there's still clear regionality, don't get me wrong, but you're starting to see pockets of the country where we're having success and people are adopting, say, the rear handle because it's more available to them now. And you're starting to see some of that regionality blend a little bit more. A lot, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are some lifetime sidewinder guys who, like, I tried a rear handle and I kind of like the blade on the left side and I like the different layout and ergonomics. So with cordless, you're starting to see some of that change over time.
Let's talk about those saws. So what's new about them? You've been making circular saws forever. I think I got my first one in 2010 when it came out, right?
Yeah.
And it's improved tremendously with fuel and all the iterations. Speaking of which, you talk about the history of where we are today. I think it was in 2008 or 7, I retired my hole shooter.
Yeah.
Remember the hole shooter?
I do. It's in our history hall.
Metal case and everything. I mean, that was a great drill, but I got my first cordless drill that time, and I've never looked back.
Yeah.
And I've been moving forward, with a lot of changes. But what is new about these saws that's different from, say, the fuel saw that I have now?
Yeah, for sure. It's a great question. So there's 4 saws, a few of which are already shipping, 2 of them, and then a few that will be shipping a little bit later. So we have a new M12 5 3/8. I think you have
I
that.
have that. Yeah, I've been playing with it.
The new 6.5 left blade saw. So that is the next generation of the saw that came out. It was really our first next generation. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
it right there. Yep. Okay.
So that was the next generation of our really our first fuel saw, if I remember correctly, probably back in 2013
Yeah.
or so.
Yep.
And then the other really exciting ones that we've announced today are your next gen Sidewinder, 7 1/4, and then your next gen rear handle 7 1/4 as well.
Nice.
Across the board, we looked at circ saws and recognized that we had the ability from a technology perspective to really elevate those across the board. Power, cut speed, thermal performance, and then also looking at feature set, looking at size and weight. I mean, you tell me if we've got it wrong, but generally the feedback we get is, yeah, we'd love more power and cut speed, but we don't
Make it
want it to
lighter.
get bigger and heavier to do that.
Make it lighter, right?
Right. So that's what you're seeing really across the board. And with the new 7 1/4 saws, those are chock full of all of our newest, latest, and greatest technology.
That's the one I want to
battery
get my
motor.
hand on.
Yeah.
Battery is going to be the Forge you recommend with that, but it will run on any M18 battery.
Yeah. It'll run on any M18 battery, and it is
Optimized for Forge.
it's optimized for your higher capacity. So it's going to be able to get the most out of Forge.
Okay.
But it is a really, really notable next generation from the outgoing saw with every one of our M18 batteries. So for those of you that have high output batteries still, it's going to be a big leap in performance there. But it is optimized to be able to really take advantage of all of the benefits that the Forge batteries can deliver from a power perspective.
I still have an original M18 circular saw. It's in my shop. I use it to kind of size things up and stuff, and I have the fuel in my van.
Mhm.
If I took the Forge and put it on the original Gen 1 circular saw, it's going to work fine.
Yeah, it'll work fine.
Will it work any differently than another battery that's of the same amp hour?
You'll get more runtime for sure.
Okay.
You may not see a huge increase in performance, or you likely won't. So to your question of, hey, will it perform really differently of a similar amp hour? Not a huge amount on the performance side of things, but
Runtime, definitely.
runtime and thermals. And then of course, with the new charging technology, your uptime there is going to be a big benefit as well.
Charging. So the charging technology is interesting. We saw it last year a little bit, right? We there were some really cool demos with the steam. They're
Yeah.
probably doing it again this year. Cooling the battery.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit to the audience. I understand some of this, not all of it. I'm not an expert, but why is it important to charge a cooler battery?
So what we're talking about is cool cycle.
Yeah.
And the reason that's so important, there's a couple of reasons for it. You guys work in your audience works in really hot, demanding environments. You're pushing tools hard, so batteries get hot. Well, when you put a hot battery on a charger, there's a duration of time that it needs to cool off before you can start charging the battery. So when you talk about just uptime, there's a bunch of downtime there to say, hey, this battery just came off my circ saw. We were bunk cutting. It's hot. It's going to take a while to cool down before you even start.
10 minutes, half hour? I mean, what was some
It
of the
really kind of
research
depends
shows?
on how hot the battery is, but it could be a decent amount of time.
Okay.
So with the new charging technology, what's really critical about it is it immediately starts cooling, aggressively cooling that battery. So with that, it'll start charging the pack within 90 seconds.
That's fast.
And then with the tech that's built into the batteries and the charger, it'll supercharge to up to 80% charge within 35 minutes. So you can cycle through those batteries. And what it really is exciting, and we're starting to see this feedback come in, is that, hey, for your highest duty, your most demanding applications and tools, 12 volt is great. But because that uptime exists with the new charging technology, you can go to, say, an XC80 Forge battery and cycle through them because you're not kind of shackled a little by the downtime for charging.
Yeah,
So you
you're
can take something
eliminating
smaller
that
and
time.
lighter.
Yeah, that's interesting. So is the cooling aspect only on the rapid charger for the 18, or is it going to be across the board? Is it
You'll start
single ones?
You'll start to see more of that technology flow through the entire lineup. Right now, it's the new dual bay supercharger that we announced last year, and the Forge batteries. So the 6.0 that started shipping last year, and then the XC80 and the HD12 that are announced today.
All three of those.
Mhm.
Interesting. Battery technology.
Oh, and I should before we move on, it's also on some of the MX fuel batteries. So the Forge MX batteries and those chargers have some of that technology as well.
cooling.
Yep.
That's interesting. So we talked battery technology. You're a battery-driven solution company, and the goal is to go cordless, right? Do you see, are there any tools out there that just shouldn't go cordless in your opinion? Or, I mean, I have an opinion on some tools that I like to see AC/DC.
Sure.
We chatted a little bit about this. Might have chatted with you last night or somebody else.
A little bit.
What is your opinion on that?
In terms of tools that shouldn't go cordless, direct answer to your question is no. But we've got to be smart about when and when's the right time, right? Something I like to say a lot. It's not a unique expression. Is you have one opportunity to make a first impression, right?
That's right.
So making sure that we have the right technology and we understand truly what those user needs are before we embark into a new space where we're converting gas or trying to convert gas, or move into something really where there's no battery operated, penetration into the marketplace. It's got to be the right time with the right tech. And if you had asked me, if we had a roofing nailer that can do what this thing can do at 7.3 pounds 6 years ago, would have said, yeah, I hope we can get there, but don't see the path quite yet.
Yeah.
It's a long-winded way to say, I don't think there's anything that comes to mind that shouldn't be, with the exception of maybe stationary items. You tell me if you feel differently, but shop tools that really don't leave your shop.
Plug in. Absolutely.
I don't know that you need a tabletop planer cordless. I don't know what the benefit would be.
No benefit, not unless it was a mobile station or something in a trailer. But
because I think that's an important distinction. We're focused on tools that are used on the job site that are mobile. That's kind of what I'm speaking to.
So there are 2, maybe 3 tools that I think should stay. I shouldn't say stay corded. They should be AC/DC because I think there's a huge benefit for cordless. So personally, lighting.
Yep.
And I'm talking about bigger lighting, job site lighting. So the rocket, whatever it's called.
Tower lights.
So we've got those on our job site. And again, we're camping. We're there for 6 months. That's going to get pulled to a corner, plugged in, and it stays there.
Right.
Or we daisy chain some lights and it's all plugged in. To replace string lights that we used to string everywhere that we have to move every time we're doing things. So I think lighting absolutely should be AC/DC because I don't want the light to die in the middle, or I don't want to change the battery or charge them and waste a cycle on a battery.
Yeah.
Because it's on all day, every day for 6 months.
Yeah.
So lighting, I think, should be AC/DC.
And we agree with you. I think.
Yeah, and you are doing it.
We've done it. Lighting, some of our air movement. You're seeing AC/DC items where, hey, there's a cordless benefit.
Yeah.
But when it's going to be stationary and really long duration use, we want to give you the ability. We hear the same feedback you're giving on those types of products.
I think we talked last night about the fan. The fan is awesome, by the way, the 18-inch fan. I know you have a couple of fans. And so we're using it primarily right now to cool ourselves down on the job site. We've been going through that crazy heat wave like everybody in the country.
Yep.
Cordless. We move it around with us. Really lightweight. I brought it outside. I was working in my van on the racking. I brought it in the van with me and cooled myself off. However, we were doing a remodel of hardwood floor finishing, and they were putting down oil, which is a lot of odor.
Mm-hmm.
And the homeowner wanted to come back the next day or two, and we wanted that odor out. So we put the fan in a window, but we plugged in because it ran all night long.
Yeah.
Put it on medium, close the window right to the fan, let it run. That's a situation where you want to plug.
Yeah.
All the other times we use that fan, it's cordless. So those 2, and maybe a vacuum. Vacuum, you could argue the vacuum probably both ways because pulling a cord and getting stuck around a corner on a door, around a trash barrel with the cord is frustrating.
Right.
Right. But being able to, let's say you got a big cleanup, not having to swap out the batteries or shoot, I left the batteries in the van. I got to go back outside to get another battery, and just doing what you got to do, getting it done.
Right.
So that option is nice.
Yeah.
So I think, and you guys are doing it. When AirTip was shown 2 years ago, I think it was, and they showed that vacuum that had the pack out top.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of the vacuum. M18 vacuum, I think it's called. But
I think it's a pack out vacuum.
Is it a pack out vacuum?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought that was a miss for you guys. I said it's premature. It should have Bluetooth and it should have AC/DC. Now it's coming out.
I was gonna say, have you been to that station?
Yes. I saw it at World of Concrete.
Right.
So, and I have not been to that station, but
because we have our first tool here today that has the REDLINK functionality here. So you'll see much more, but we have the first one here today.
So needed, right? So if we're going cordless, then we have to make sure that our vacs are cordless and Bluetooth connected, right? So
because we're changing your workflow, we're taking the cord away.
That's right. So, it's funny. We don't have enough vacuums for all of our saws on our job site, so I still have like a shop vac or a rigid. I call it shop vac. It's not a shop vac. It's
Yeah.
rigid vacuum. I have it next to my cordless saw, and I just flip the switch, make the cut, switch off. And then the Bluetooth technology we might have on another saw or somewhere else because we set up multiple cut stations. It's a big house.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the Bluetooth connectivity because that eliminates that step. How many times you forget to turn it on and you get clogged, and so that's exciting stuff.
So are we, right? There's some competitors of ours that are out there that have their own systems, and being somebody who's worked strictly on carpentry and remodeling for the last decade for Milwaukee, we know it's something that we've been asked for and that we need. So we're excited to finally be able to get it out there. Wish we could have more of the products that are coming with REDLINK on display, but there will be more that are in the pipeline right now than what we're just seeing today.
Sean, do you think, do you see or foresee an opportunity or a time when maybe you would make a carpentry tool that would take an MX battery? And what I mean by that is certain contractors, a lot of commercial contractors are using MX, right? And that's where it fits really well.
Yeah.
I use some MX, but they also use saws and lighting you're already doing. That's a crossover. Vacuums. Do you see the opportunity there where, I mean, maybe it's AC/DC, MX, I don't know, but do you see something like that in the future where
Potentially. I think it, and we've talked a lot internally around it. To us, it always comes back down to the user use case and user need.
Yeah.
If you're an MX customer, there's also, plenty of applications and products that you likely need on the M18 platform. So recognizing that those live well together. But absolutely, I think there are some opportunities. The thing that we always want to be mindful of is what's the right fit to address the user need.
Yeah.
What I mean by that in more direct terms is, say the user need on a given product, say product X is, hey, it's got to be lightweight, small, compact, what have you, but it doesn't need the performance or runtime that comes from MX fuel. We wouldn't put it on the MX platform just because it fits with some of the other products that the user owns. We'll go research that and we'll gather feedback and understand it. But it really comes down to what is the right solution for the application, what the user's doing. So I think there are some out there, but will we be sprinting at a MX table saw or an MX miter saw? Probably not in the short term.
No, because they'll just bring the other one to the job site, like you say. That makes sense, I suppose. Because you don't really need to round out that category for MX because you can get it through the M18. And you get the runtime you need anyway on that battery.
Right.
I do see...
Well, what do you think? Do you have some ideas?
Yeah, HEPA filter or air scrubber, or I see stuff... I could see a need. You could probably do it on M18 though. So...
I think you're
that's AC/DC too, by the way.
But your trail on air movement and items like that, that's probably where there would be a crossover. Some of those same kind of AC/DC type categories, continuous use, long durations of time. Those are where they could be a really good fit in the future.
It's kind of cool to see. We talk about vacuums, but I'm using vacuums for debris cleanup, fine dust cleanup, someone's oriental carpet cleanup. But also we're connecting them to collect dust at the source. Yeah. You could make an argument for a bigger dust collector for large, and it wouldn't, a mobile contractor probably wouldn't want it. But if you were camping and setting up on a big house, and some of these houses take 2 years to build, a dust collector that you could set up a saw and a miter saw to, maybe 3 tools to.
Yeah, more like of a station.
Yeah, like a woodworking kind of setup station. Yeah. Like in my shop, I have a jet dust collector that's hard piped to my table saw, my router, and a few other things. Something stationary, maybe it was pack out or it's on wheels or something, or it's like the lighting, how it folds up or something. Yeah. It could be kind of cool. And it could be MX, it could be M18, it probably would be AC/DC. I would think if you're not camping. Yeah. But I mean, I like to kind of spitball and brainstorm ideas like, could you do with MX, or where could you use it next? Like definitely a snowblower. We talked about that. There's so many things, golf cart, motorcycle. There's so many things that you can just expand, and you probably are looking at all of those things.
We're looking at a lot. I think one of the fun pieces too, talking a lot about VAX, is the partnership internally that my team has and others with the team, David Moberek, who I know and that team that are working on all things job site cleanup. Yep. Obviously, there's a through line there of the REDLINK and Bluetooth technology, looking at some of those different solutions. And Well, what I mean by that is they're doing all of this work and working in the field. We're doing the same and being able to come back and compare notes, say, hey, this is what Joe on our team is hearing and learning about sanders and what people are looking for in the shop and on the job site. Job site cleanup team, what are you guys hearing? Are there consistencies here that we need to continue to dig into?
Yeah.
So as much as, earlier when we kicked off, I said, hey, I'm on the carpentry and nailing team. There's a tremendous amount of collaboration across the business to make sure that, if you're seeing something, share that with us. If I'm seeing something that's related to a plumbing and electrical product, or someone's having an issue or they have an idea, I share that and share the contact with my counterparts there. So when it comes to, dust collection and job site cleanup, it's very near and dear to the carpentry team's heart.
Yeah.
We stay pretty well connected with that.
Collaborate and talk too, because you probably come across you're talking to different users. Too.
Different users, different parts of the country, different kinds of job sites, commercial, residential, what have you.
You mentioned nailers too. We talked about the Coil nailer here, the roofer. The duplex nailer is new. I saw it at World of Concrete this past winter. What's the feedback been on that? And why a duplex nailer? Tell me a little bit about that. It's kind of an odd nailer. When I first saw it, I was like,
Yeah. The feedback's been tremendous. So why behind duplex? It goes back to the user. So really over the last probably 5 to 6 years, we really more heavily focused the commercial side of things. And obviously it's come a lot with what we've done with MX on the product side of things, on the concrete contractor and your large GC that's doing a lot of self-performed concrete work and like early stage construction, concrete. And as we've gotten more ingrained with those customers and been able to really sink our teeth into research, pretty quickly, we got a lot of feedback of, hey, one thing that we do that's tremendously manual, that is huge wear and tear on our guys, is duplex nails. We're doing them all by hand today, swinging a hammer, 16Ds, 8Ds. They're temporary. They all come out. This would be something that it's time consuming, and I can't stress enough how much feedback we got about the wear and tear.
Smaller market though. So
it is.
But you went after
narrow.
it. So from a business standpoint, like you're not going to make a ton of money like you would with a drill where the market is huge. It goes, it spills over into consumer, right?
Yeah.
But you went after it. So is the mantra, is the goal, if there's a need, we're going to go after it, even if we're not going to make a lot of money or sell a lot of widgets? I mean, you know what I mean?
It comes back to the core trades.
Just trying to support it and round out the core trade.
It's we really, really, really focus on those core trades. Now, those trades have grown over the years, but it's hey, this is a critical opportunity for us to be able to improve the productivity, the safety of one of our core trades. Let's go dig into it. Let's see. And that's also how we came to the nails.
I'll tell you that I see a spill over into framing. So the duplex, I use duplex nails, and we hand banged them, and we use them for bracing. We set trusses last week, and we had to do a ton of bracing. We use duplex nails, where you have to screw them, but with a screw, then you got to hold on to a screw gun. So I could see framers using that, and I also could see concrete forms, But tell me about the nails. I think the feedback that I've been getting on the street and from subscribers is, where am I going to get those nails? Because they're proprietary. So I'm not going to just go into my lumber yard, Concord Lumber, and buy them, because they're not there.
Right. So it's actually what you just hit on is why we decided to make the nails themselves. So the tool itself is one thing, but we also recognize there's a very, very small, almost non-existent market for collated duplex nails. There's really 2 companies, one competitor of ours that has some collated nails. And we recognize that they're not in every distribution.
It's a pneumatic gun, I'm assuming.
There's a pneumatic, and there actually is a cordless from Metabo HPT. They have their own nails there. So it's really twofold. We looked at it and said, hey, they're not everywhere. So we need to have the ability for our end user customers who want the solution to be able to get something from us where we can control the supply chain, control the availability. We can partner with our sales and job site solutions teams to make sure they're in the right places.
So distribution would be like Acme, Home Tool, Home Depot,
Colony, White Cap. Some of your Sphere 1, like really online, dedicated concrete houses online. And our goal is to make sure, it's really it needs to happen. Every place that stocks the tool always stock the nails in pretty high volumes because quite a lot of them are used.
That's
So
good.
we didn't want to leave anyone high and dry. And then the last piece of that is we drove some innovation into the nails. Very clear feedback from users that if we're going to go cordless, the tool itself's great, but the nails need to do what my hand-driven 16s and my 8s do.
They
They don't have to be
hold.
exactly the same, but they need to hold,
Mm,
and I need to be able to easily pull them out because we
Mhm.
have to strip all of this,
right.
pretty quickly after we put it all
Yeah.
up.
You don't
So
want the glue on there like you have. Yeah.
we
it's not
wanted to be able
staying
to
in.
control our own destiny there and make sure that the user experience with the full solution was right.
So I know our time's running out here a little bit, but I want to ask you, what's next for nailers? Like what are the nail guns, nailers haven't you explored yet that you think you might go after? Like what's out there? I'm trying to think in the top of my head, maybe a cap nailer, holding a tie back down, or
Yeah.
staplers, or I don't know, what's out there that you think might.
So it's kind of a 2 or 3-fold question. From our perspective, nailers, as much as cordless has really grown in probably the last 5 to 10 years in a big way, it's still pretty early in the adoption. There's still a ton of pneumatics, and it makes sense why. So there's plenty of new, right? We look at building trends around, cap nailers, cap staplers, and what have you that's driving more adoption or usage of maybe what is a more niche product now that maybe whether it be building supply manufacturers, building code will become more commonplace. We're always looking at that. But we also recognize that we're not finished. We're just getting started on the core side of things. And we know that we need to keep driving our new technologies into the meat and potatoes of the nailing category. So finished nailers, framing nailers, things like roofing nailers. So it's both. What's next for nailers is continuing our mission, which is we want to be able to give you the opportunity to be completely cordless. To get there, we know we have to invest in technology to drive performance and durability up and weight down.
So siding comes to mind, right?
Yep.
So you're not there yet. I'm sure you're looking at it. Siding, hardwood flooring might be tough. But that's definitely that's a hard nailer to do. What else? What else could we do? Fencing, siding.
I can't give you the whole roadmap.
Oh, I'm trying to think of what other nail guns are out there, nailers that we use.
Maybe some MC nailers, metal connectors.
Oh, metal connect. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Always hanger nails. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're one company's doing that now, right? DeWalt has one, I think, and that's it. Or is two?
DeWalt cordless, I think, has been discontinued. There's a Metabo HPT.
There is.
A Pasload as well. But
Pasload has one. That's right. I have a pneumatic for that stuff, and that is a huge time saver. So if you can come out cordless with that, I'm going to be buying one of those.
Yeah, really what we're doing is we're looking at, again, all the trades that we make these tools for, and really diving into what do you need next? What is keeping the hose in your site from a design perspective in our tools and from a product gap perspective. So that's how we're looking at it. And if it connects to a hose, we're either working on it or looking at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that I'm super interested in is, gas, replacing gas. We talked about this last night a little bit. And, the future of cordless technology, battery technology, replacing gas. A lot of communities are requiring it it falls into not your wheelhouse, probably more OPE stuff, but
But it's happening, right?
It's happening, and it's exciting. And I mean, your company is in a dead center in the middle of it. Do you see it happening? I personally see two issues. Immediate cost to the contractor.
Mm-hmm.
They got to retool.
Sure.
Right. And then charging on the go. I think that's the big, you got to solve that solution. I think Cress is, you see their cyber tank that they have.
I've seen a little bit about it.
It's expensive. It's a big thing. It mounts to a trailer or a truck. They're addressing it that way. I think MX probably could somehow maybe go after that.
I think today, after we're done here, there's some things outside that I think you'll be pretty excited about.
Sure. Okay.
Really focus on mobile charging and some of the solutions we have there. And it's kind of a combination of, and I don't want to get the details wrong, but we have a really exciting mobile charging, really OPE focused solution where you can get a bunch of batteries all well organized and tied into pack out.
I think I saw that. Is that the power converter?
The power management?
Power management. That's interesting.
And being able to pair some of that up from a mobile perspective with things like our roll-on power supply for mobile charging. There's more to come there, but we agree with you very much that mobile charging is something that we have to keep front of mind.
You gotta lead the way. I mean, you can't just catch up on that. I think it'll be too late if you do.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, listen, I want to thank you for your time and thanks for having me. This was super fun.
It's a pleasure.
And it's always fun to come out here. You guys, the culture here is great, and I feel like visiting family and relatives. It's always such a warming warming time. So
Likewise, it's
Thanks
outstanding to have you all in, and looking forward to the rest of the day with you.
appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks,
Appreciate
everybody.
it.
Yep. Thanks.